Hi there. As I've mentioned before, the whole impetus and inspiration for this podcast, this review series, came from Jack Carr's work. Jack Carr, the noted thriller writer, former SEAL, has a podcast where, amongst other things, he reviews books and kit, and that inspired me during lockdown to, in my own modest way, start doing it. And on a recent Jack Carr Danger Close podcast, he interviewed Will Dean about his book, his new book, The Chamber. And Jack was so enthusiastic about this book that I bought it straight away. I read it, and this is the review. So normally I can read a book in a few days. I actually took a couple of weeks reading The Chamber because I was savouring it so much. I really took my time and slowed everything down and read it with thorough enjoyment. And it definitely is one of the most thought-provoking books I've ever read. The title, The Chamber, refers to the decompression chamber that's used for saturation diving. And it's a steel chamber which is usually on the deck of a support ship, and between 4 to 6 divers are inside. They're locked in, and it's a space about the size of a minibus at best, and they are then blown down to the working depth of probably 300 feet underwater, and they're in there for 28 days. Now, I first heard about this from a very good friend of mine, Billy Jones, and Billy had started training with us in karate as a young guy, and then later he worked with us both on the doors and also on close protection. But his main job was as a diver, firstly a commercial air diver. He'd already been a welder on the surface. He took the course and became a commercial air diver, and then went into saturation. And this is the type of diving discussed in the book, where the divers are contained for a month at working depth, breathing heliox, basically helium, and which makes your speech like Donald Duck, and also all your food tastes the same because your taste buds don't operate on helium, and very, very cramped quarters, and a very, very arduous and complex work routine, because the procedure is there's a bell which is lowered. It connects to the chamber through an airlock. 2 of the divers go into the bell, the airlock's sealed, and it's then dropped to the floor where they're going to be working on these massive structures around the oil rigs, which need constant maintenance because of saltwater corrosion. And from the bell, one of the guys dons the hat, the helmet, a very, very heavy piece of equipment which provides the circulation of warmth and also breathing umbilical, and he then drops through the floor of the bell and goes out, and they do roughly a 6-hour work, and sometimes they change places. The bellman changes place with the diver and so on, then they come up, and then the next two are sent down, and it's a constant rotation of work. They do get their pound of flesh from the divers in the oil industry. The book brings the complexities of saturation diving into stark focus. In the book, the 6 divers, which are 5 male plus the female main character, are completely in the hands of the support crew outside. They can, if they make a mistake of any kind, they can boil the diver alive, they can freeze him to death, or they can supply the wrong mixture of gases and have him go unconscious or dead. That's just a couple of the many, many mistakes that can lead to catastrophic consequences. The divers are obsessed with hygiene. Any food that's spilt, if they cough on a surface, whatever, they've got antiseptic wipes. They clean everything all the time. And the reason for this is bacteria flourishes in the humid atmosphere within the chamber, and infections can spread. And if you get an infection while in the chamber, it's going to be really nasty. You're going to really have to tough it out, because the truth of the matter is they're at least 4 days from the surface. They're actually as far from the surface of the Earth as astronauts are. So it's a tremendously claustrophobic and hazardous and absolutely nerve-wracking in some ways work environment. I found it absolutely fascinating, especially as Will Dean, the author, sprinkles lots of anecdotes. He's obviously picked up from speaking to guys who've worked in the North Sea, where this book is set, the Gulf of Mexico, Nigeria, Bahrain, the Far East, all over. Some funny, some tragic anecdotes, and it really brings the story to life. Now, grafted onto this already fascinating insight into a world few know about is a mystery story in classic thriller fashion. As divers mysteriously start to die, very much in the vein of Agatha Christie's 10 Little Indians, it is the ultimate locked room mystery. And I don't want to give the plot of this whodunit away too much, so I won't say much more about it. We'll just leave it at that. But it's these two aspects: the fascinating world, and also the whodunit, the mystery. The layout of the chamber, Billy Jones called it the habitat. Bunks, a dining area. Adjacent is a wet pot, which is the shower and toilet area. And there is a lifeboat for escape, which would have to cram all the personnel in even tighter confinement, and then hope, bob about in the waves, hope for rescue by people who know what they're doing, because they still have to decompress. So it's even a more horrifying and claustrophobic outcome than just a normal chamber. The temperament required to live in such close proximity while performing one of the most complex and dangerous jobs in the world is really outlined very, very well. It takes a rare character to fit into this life. So much so that there's actually less than 400 sat divers in the United States, which has a massive oil industry. So all in all, it was a terrific read, and I'll be reading Will Dean's previous books, which have all got good write-ups, and I do recommend it. I think you'll be hooked. It's a unique book, and I can really see why Jack Carr enthused so much about it.